So in our next video, we want to go over images and the sort of things to avoid. Images can convey meaning. So if you put an image in an article, put it in a banner for a header, or just even have a slideshow of photos, all of those images you probably decided on because you're trying to communicate with your audience. You want to avoid informative images with low contrast. So if it helps complement the substance of what you're trying to communicate, then you really want to make sure the contrast is high enough that a person with the visual impairments can discern a difference, or just incidental, just reach that wider audience. You do want to avoid images with text, and this is for several reasons. So there are disadvantages to this. Text is not readable by a screen reader, so you're immediately losing an audience there. Text and images does not help with search results, so it's invisible to Google or Bing or even your inner site search. So that can really harm the findability of content. It can't be updated easily. It can't be translated into other languages. Remember, accessibility is not just about people with disabilities, but it could be people from an international standpoint that you're trying to reach. If you have translation software, those images aren't going to be translated automatically. Text on images may lack proper contrast. So trying to change that may require recreating that image. But if you're going to recreate the image, pull out the text. Text on images can be scaled too small to read. So you might start off with an image that was intended to be of a certain size, but as it scales down, for example, on mobile devices or things like that, it may be rendered too small to read. I'm sure you've seen advertisements that are in images that are just a head scratcher as to why it's so small, and that's typically why. And images of text is only acceptable if it's purely decorative. So just keep that in mind. There's more information about this in the WCAG 2.1 AAA guidelines. Again, that's something to review a little bit if that's what you're striving for. But we want our content to be understood by the people trying to consume that content, of course. So when it comes to images that do have text or that don't have text, regardless, you want to try to use alt text to explain what the meaning of that image is. Now, this gets a little bit in depth, and we're not going to cover the full range of what this is, but thankfully there are resources here. So every single image on your website should have alt text. Now, if that image is purely decorative, if it doesn't add to the substance of the information being consumed, that's okay. You can just leave a null value, but it should be there to tell a screen reader that this is not something of substance. It can skip right over it. Otherwise, you need some sort of alt text. And it should describe what an image is in relationship to the context and the content surrounding that image. So for example, if I have an image in an article, what is that image doing in that article? What am I trying to convey? And when you put alt text in an image, try to avoid lead-ins like this is a photo of, or this is an image of. You don't need to say that. Just say what the image is. For more guidance, I would highly recommend taking a look at these two resources. There's just general guidance. This is from the W3 organization, the same organization that provides the WCAG guidelines. There's some tutorials about how to groom your alt text. There's also decision tree to help you make decisions as to what sort of alt text makes sense. Once you get used to these rules, it'll just be a common practice for you, but just get started with it, understand the knowledge that it provides, practice with it a few times, and then once you get a handle of it, you'll understand what good decisions are with your content.